The moon is not what you think it is. On April 1st, 2026, NASA astronauts Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, joined by Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, became the first humans to travel beyond low Earth orbit in 54 years. Their mission? Artemis 2. A 10-day arc around the moon that took them further from Earth than any human had traveled since Apollo 13 in 1970, breaking that record by more than 4,100 miles. And what they saw on the far side of the moon has reignited one of the deepest unsolved questions in planetary science. By the end of this video, you will understand why the side of the moon you have never seen may be the most scientifically important object in the inner solar system, and why 4 people flying past it in a capsule the size of 2 minivans may have just changed everything. For centuries, the moon was a solved problem, a dead rock, a passive mirror for sunlight. We studied its craters, named its seas, and sent 12 men to walk on it. By the time the last Apollo astronaut left in 1972, most scientists believed there was little left to discover. The moon, we told ourselves, had no secrets left. That confidence rested almost entirely on the near side, the face permanently locked toward Earth. A surface roughly 31% covered in vast, dark plains of ancient solidified lava. These plains, called Maria, stretch hundreds of kilometers across. The Sea of Tranquility alone is nearly twice the size of Germany. We mapped it in extraordinary detail. We assumed the rest was more of the same. You have almost certainly seen the photograph from Apollo 8. Earthrise, the pale blue dot cresting the lunar horizon. That barren grey foreground is the near side, the hemisphere we know. Just out of frame, beginning at the very edge of that image, is everything we do not. When orbiting spacecraft finally mapped the far side in full, what they found made no sense. The far side has just 1 to 2% lava coverage against the near side's 31%. Where the near side is smooth and open, the far side is ancient, violent, and shattered, a crust approximately 20 kilometers thicker than the one facing us. Same moon, completely different world. The models said the 2 hemispheres should be broadly similar. Same formation event, same age, same composition. That is not what happened, not even close. The reason the far side is so compelling is because it is so different than the side of the moon that we see, the near side, said Dr. Noah Petro, NASA project scientist for Artemis 3 and former project scientist for the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. We saw this completely different hemisphere, not covered in large volcanic lava flows, pockmarked with craters, a thicker crust. It just tells a different story. But the asymmetry was not the only thing they found. Beneath the surface, something stranger still was waiting. Beneath the south pole of the far side lies the South Pole Aitken Basin, the largest preserved impact crater in the entire solar system. It is 2,500 kilometers wide and more than 8 kilometers deep. NASA describes its diameter as comparable to the distance from Waco, Texas to Washington, D.C. When something enormous struck the moon roughly 4 billion years ago, it punched so deep that the resulting shockwave dispersed the impactor's remains into the upper lunar mantle. In 2019, gravitational surveys from NASA's Grail mission, combined with topography data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, detected a massive metallic anomaly sitting at least 300 kilometers beneath the basin floor. The leading hypothesis, the dispersed iron-nickel core of the asteroid itself, still suspended in the moon's mantle. The moon may be carrying a piece of its own killer. Separately, in 2023, a different team used microwave thermal imaging data from China's Chang'e 1 and 2 orbiters to detect a heat anomaly on the far side, a region roughly 50 kilometers wide, registering about 10 degrees Celsius warmer than its surroundings. The source appears to be a buried granite formation. This is a rock type that should not exist on the Moon. Granite requires water, silica-rich magma, and plate tectonics to form, none of which the Moon has ever had, as far as we know. The finding, published in Nature, suggested that at some point in the Moon's history, it was geologically far more active and far more Earth-like than any model predicted. And then there is Reiner Gamma, a phenomenon on the near side, but one that connects directly to the same deep mystery. A bright, swirling pattern visible even with a modest telescope sitting above a localized magnetic anomaly in a world that lost its global magnetic field billions of years ago. No crater, no obvious cause. Some researchers believe it formed from the ejecta of a massive ancient impact that magnetized the crust. Others propose a cometary strike. No one agrees, and Reiner Gamma is not alone. Dozens of these unexplained swirl anomalies dot the lunar surface, each one a question mark the size of a country. Not every scientist believes these anomalies demand new physics. Some argue the granite signal could reflect measurement error or a geological process we have not fully modeled. The metallic mass beneath Aitken remains a hypothesis, an alternative explanation involving accumulated oxides from the Moon's cooling magma ocean has not been ruled out. The uncertainty is real, but even skeptics acknowledge that the data are unlike anything seen on any other rocky body in the solar system. The far side of the Moon is like a sealed crime scene from 4 billion years ago. The evidence is all still there, undisturbed, perfectly preserved in the cold and the silence. We just have not been allowed inside yet. Christina Koch, mission specialist on Artemis 2, became the first woman ever to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Victor Glover became the first black astronaut to do so. Jeremy Hansen became the first non-American. 4 people, sealed inside a capsule roughly the size of 2 minivans, crossed a boundary no human being had crossed in more than half a century. Then the Moon swallowed them. As Artemis 2 passed behind the lunar far side, every signal from Earth disappeared. No voices, no telemetry, no live images. For 40 minutes, the crew were completely alone behind a world nearly 3,500 kilometers wide. When they emerged, Earth was gone. Commander Reid Wiseman later described that moment, watching the planet disappear behind the lunar horizon, as the instant the mission became real. Not the launch, not the engines, that silence, that absence. And in the darkness, the crew watched tiny flashes erupt across the lunar surface, micrometeorites striking the Moon in real time. Brief sparks on a dead world, visible for less than a second. The Artemis astronauts were not just testing a spacecraft, they were rehearsing the psychological reality of deep space, the isolation, the silence, and the unsettling realization that Earth can vanish completely behind another world. The next decade of lunar exploration will focus overwhelmingly on the far side and the South Pole. China has already returned the first samples ever collected from the far hemisphere. NASA's Artemis missions are preparing to send astronauts back to the lunar surface for the first time since 1972. And astronomers are seriously considering something once thought impossible: building radio telescopes on the far side itself, using the Moon as a shield against Earth's noise. Why are the Moon's 2 hemispheres so radically different? Why did one side flood with lava while the other froze shut? What created the buried granite formation? And beneath the Aitken Basin is something metallic still trapped inside the mantle after 4 billion years. Science has encountered moments like this before, periods where the evidence stops fitting the model, Those moments usually end one of two ways. Either the anomaly disappears or the field changes around it. The moon is not what you think it is. You know that now, in a way you could not have known it 12 minutes ago. A dead rock turned out to be carrying the dispersed core of the asteroid that nearly destroyed it. A world with no geology turned out to harbor rocks that should not exist. A hemisphere we assumed we understood turned out to be unrecognizable from the one right next to it. We are a species that spent centuries looking at the moon every night, naming its mountains, writing poetry about its light, and we still do not fully know what it is. That is not failure. That is the correct response to a universe that is older, stranger, and more patient than we are. The far side of the moon has been waiting 4 billion years. It can wait a little longer, but we should not.